Hello and welcome to Was It Worth It, the video game review podcast brought to you by SharcTank.com. I'm Tim.
And I'm Dane.
And this is a show where we each play a game, give it a little review, and say, hey, do we think it's worth the cost? What game did we play, Dane?
We played Sky Gambler's Storm Raiders, a World War II airplane simulator developed and published by Atypical Games. So you can pick up this game on Steam for $9.99. So Sky Gamblers covers a number of historical World War II battles, including Pearl Harbor, among plenty of others.
Yes.
And it covers many of the locations you'd expect from a World War II game, so France, Germany, Britain, etc. There's a number of different game modes ranging from a typical story campaign with a large handful of missions to some online and offline game modes like Capture the Flag and Survival. And while Sky Gamblers is technically an airplane simulator, the dogfighting kind of has more of an arcadey feel to it.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's a number of ways to control your plane, keyboard only, mouse and keyboard, to a joystick, or a gamepad with a bit of tweaking. And it's worth mentioning that the game was actually a mobile port and was originally designed to be controlled with touchscreen devices.
Right. I picked up the game on the Android for 99 cents just to see what it was like. There's a couple different control schemes, so it kind of gives you some options just like on the PC.
For sure. And speaking of the PC version, what did you think of it?
Well, going in, I didn't know what to expect much. It didn't take me long to figure out that it was actually originally a mobile game from 2012 that had just recently been ported to PC and Steam.
Yeah, not our usual criteria, but, there just wasn't much to choose from this week.
It's really slow this time of year, so we're, not a lot to pick and choose from. So, coming into the game, the tutorial was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't quite complete, and I can tell you that the Android version is a lot more complete. This was like a chopped up version of that, and it's bizarre. I'm not sure what they were doing with that, but anyway, at best you call it a simulator light because the gameplay is very arcadey, as you mentioned. Very simple controls, which I thought worked well with the arcadey feel of the game. Yep. It allowed you to do very fancy flying easily, and there was an auto aim of sorts that helped out with the aiming.
Yeah, for sure.
However, because it was so simple, the wide variety of planes you had to choose from, they all had a pretty similar feel to them. There wasn't a wide variance in how the different planes felt.
Not really.
Biggest difference being if you had a different type of weapon. The simplicity also wasn't particularly engaging, so while I did have fun with the game, it wasn't something that I had the desire to play for hours on end. That being said, I would say that it's worth $9.99. For me personally, I'm a fan of World War II, and I think that you kind of have to be to get into this game.
For sure. Yeah, and I would agree with that. See, I don't really care one way or the other. I'm not the biggest fan of historical war games.
Fan is the right word for. I'm interested in World War II.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, from a historical standpoint, yeah, of course, it's interesting. As far as video games go, not really my cup of tea. And as a matter of fact, airplane simulator and dogfighting games have never really been in my greatest interest either. I mean, I wanted to give it a shot. I love trying new games or games I don't typically play for this show, so I was happy to play it. But I guess I didn't really have the greatest experience with it. I played maybe a few hours of the campaign, and then I checked out some of the other game modes too. I did some Capture the Flag, and then I did Survival for several waves of enemies.
Did you do any online play?
I didn't actually try it online.
Okay.
Did you?
Yeah, it was actually pretty fun online.
It was smooth and...
Yeah, I didn't see any issues with lag at all.
That's impressive then.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a small mobile port like that. That's cool. That's good to know. I didn't get around to checking out the online. But, what I did play, it felt a little repetitive. I had a hard time staying focused on it for more than a few hours at a time. I'd have to put it down just because I'd get pretty bored. Like you said, there just wasn't a lot of variety between the different types of planes. And I don't know, since it's a port for mobile, the graphics are so unimpressive on a 28-inch, 1080p on my computer, the textures on the ground and the textures of the different buildings that you were either protecting or bombing, just it all looked pretty bad. The music, in the game, I don't even remember it. It was
Oh, really? I liked the music, particularly the Japanese campaign.
I didn't actually get to the Japanese campaign.
That campaign had really cool music.
I'll have to go back to it and check that out.
The music was fairly standard for, it got the job done, but it wasn't particularly memorable.
For sure. Yeah, I guess I just don't really have too much to say about it because there's not too much going on in the game. once again, it being a mobile port and it kind of just setting out to be sort of, I guess, a generic, dogfighting World War II airplane game. I mean, that's what they wanted to make, and they made it, and it works for what it is, but it just doesn't work for me personally.
Yeah.
So for $10, maybe not so much. I mean, it's hard to really drive a price lower than that unless you're dealing with something really simplistic or flash based.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe $7.99 would be a little better for it.
Yeah, and it's 99 cents on Android.
Yeah.
So I mean, for $1, you might as well pick it up.
It's worth it on your mobile phone, maybe not on your computer.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would say for sure. I think that for me personally, $10 was the right price point.
Sure.
Definitely worth the 99 cents on Android. So yeah, I mean, we covered the majority of the game. I mean, the biggest disappointment for me was that all the iconic airplanes from the World War II, the P-51 Mustang and the Messerschmitt, Me-232 and the Spitfires and the Japanese Zero and the American Hellcat, like all these planes that fans of World War II air warfare would recognize, right from the get-go, they all pretty much felt the same, which is really disappointing to me. That being said, I did enjoy the campaign, particularly the Japanese campaign. Like I said,
sure.
the first mission sets you off as an American defending Pearl Harbor.
Yeah,
and it's just madness. There's Japanese Zeros all over the place, and you have all these different objectives, and all along the way you're countering Japanese constantly. But it just has this chaotic feel. But at the same time, if you can put yourself into the moment of how it ends.
Right.
So that's the thing is, with games like this, there were no surprises in the story, so there wasn't really a story, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I did enjoy the Battle of Britain was a little more stale. It wasn't as interesting. A lot of the same objectives over and over.
Sure. And I noticed in those battles too, it was kind of inconsistent. It was like you played one mission and it went on for a while. Different things would happen. Oh, they're flanking from this side, or oh, they're go and protect, over here and that kind of
Sure.
thing. And it kind of it was pretty in depth. And then the next mission, you would do your one objective and then the mission was over.
Right.
It just wasn't entirely consistent. It just felt a little weird going back and forth between these longer drawn out missions that had a lot of different objectives and then one or two objectives and suddenly the mission ended.
Yeah, and I think in general this game has struggled with balance, just balancing the length of the missions as well as the difficulty of some parts. I played on the hardest difficulty to make it challenging, and
Sure.
there are some parts that were just, it's kind of unfair when a Japanese plane would spawn on top of you.
I can imagine.
Something like that, and it would hurt. But that being said, I did enjoy the campaign, especially the Japanese. Like I said, you start at Pearl Harbor, you move on to Midway, which Midway is a very famous battle.
Mm-hmm.
I did play a little bit online, like I said earlier, and I didn't really encounter any lag. It was kind of fun to play online, just to play against other people, and there were also bots in the. So the match that I played was like it was a sea battle, so each team had a set of battleships, and the goal was to kill the enemy battleships. So
Sure.
There were human players and bots on each side of the team, so it was pretty fun for an hour.
Right.
So I think again at $10, I think the game was fine, but that's because I'm into it. I think that if you're into World War II air warfare, this game is probably going to be fun for you. But it's also a $10 game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it sounds like it has a lot of content for the money, and any of its sort of downsides you have to expect within that price range.
Yeah, and I mean, and if you're iffy on the PC, just get it on the mobile, check it out. It's 99 cents for on Android anyway. I don't know about.
I think I read in a
Probably.
review someone said it's $1 on iOS. So
Okay, yeah. So
Cool.
There you go.
all right, well, thanks for listening to this quick episode. Feel free to leave any comments on the YouTube video. Check out our website, SharcTank.com. That's shark with a C. And thanks for supporting our work.
Yeah, and Dane and I are in the process of moving, so there may not be an episode next week, but maybe there will be. We'll find out. All right, have a good night, guys.
See ya.